that gun to whatever other shootings happen to it. You know, like we had a shooting in a high school a couple years ago, 14-year-old with a gun. That gun had been used in a couple of other cities, interestingly enough,
wow.
and in 2 murders. And then they can track the bullets. They also have the database for a lot of the bullets too, and the ammunition in terms of where is it sold, what kind of gun was it fired out of, by the striations, the markings on it, exactly. On the bullets. So that's going to be a big help to them. It's another avenue for them. Nothing's as good as if they get a good clear video. And you know, in New York they have a system which was put in place, and it became more highly sophisticated in the years after 9/11, where they can actually put in your license plate or an individual image, and then it can be matched to other places, almost like a closed circuit TV, like, oh, the suspect A left here, and now they're down here, because they're all linked in with every bank ATM has video surveillance. But it's a problem for them because they don't know who this is. And the other thing too that I thought was interesting, they haven't said anything about a potential motive, because you typically think with a school, this is maybe an ex-student, as we've seen in other, sadly, in other mass shootings.
It's a disgruntled employee,
perhaps. A disgruntled employee, some sort of personal or romantic situation, and they're trying to get back or get attention from the person that they feel spurned them or rejected them. But in this case, what's interesting is that you have the two people who were killed. The 20-year-old young woman, she was the vice president of the college Republican Club. She's from Alabama. So she was shot and killed, and our condolences out to her. First name's Ella, to Ella and her family. And then the other was a young man. He was a freshman apparently. He and his family emigrated from Uzbekistan, and he was a pre-med student, and one of these people that always wants to help people. I mean, would have made studying to be a doctor at Brown University. So you know that you're talking about two very intelligent,
absolutely,
young people, and
smarter than smart.
Yeah, exactly. So was he targeted for some particular reason? And then there's no motive. Like, we haven't heard of a motive.
Right.
So was there a note? Was there messaging that was available? But they haven't said anything about that.
You've been covering stories involving guns. Any talk of this being like a ghost gun? Anything that you've heard, possibly, is that also into consideration when they start tracking down?
They would always do that. But the other thing too is, even if they use what called a ghost gun, they can still track that.
Okay.
They can still, like the gun in the Luigi Mangione case, for example. As you know, the gun that they found in the backpack that prosecutors say belonged to Luigi Mangione, that is a 3D printed gun, aka ghost gun, but it's still going to have markings, because in order to fire the bullet with the force that has to go through
the chamber,
thank you, through the chamber, that's going to leave some markings. It's going to give them some indication. Even with these quote unquote ghost guns, they're at some point in their use, they're trackable. So, this is just, and the other thing too, we talked about, Antoine, before you started the show here, that I think we should share with everybody is, there's been a lot of criticism of the Providence Police Department. This happened Saturday. Today is Tuesday. Why didn't they, why haven't they made an arrest or anything like that? First of all, it's a campus. Second of all, this is an Ivy League school, and I'm sure there were a lot of concerns about. They were getting a lot of calls, from school attorneys, from school officials, from, trustees, from all sorts of individuals.
DC, the White House, the administration is trying to get information as well.
They're trying to figure out, what do we really need to do. So it's not like it's a school where they might have been used to this, or they're in a heavily urban area or whatever. But as we even saw with Columbia University when the protests and all that, it took a while before they got their PR apparatus responding according to news cycles.
Exactly.
Because they're not usually used to doing that, and they realized they had to make statements and all of that. So I think there was a bit of that with this, and I kind of feel, maybe it's because I'm hoping that they have more information than what they're releasing to the public and to the media right now.
Which is not uncommon, which just from covering street soldiers, and all of the gang busts you've been on, and all of the takedowns that you've done, all of the crimes that you've covered. What are you working on this week as far as street soldiers go? Anything you can tease?
Street Soldiers, we're working on, we're recording it, but it's not going to air until January, but it's Biggie and Tupac. Why Can't We Let Go? Because the show we just did last week was Hip Hop New Perspectives, but I'm going like, these individuals are from the 1990s. There's a couple of generations that have been born and grown up since they were gone, but they're still capturing everybody's attention, you know?
You wonder about that, and I know I get that, you know, given what dropped on Netflix with the Diddy, which you covered extensively for us every day you were there, you know, we know that there's been renewed interest, to your point.
Well, it's the same thing, but it's also too, and I think the other thing is, you know, both of those murders have never been solved. No one's gone to jail because of the murders. They were very high profile. If those had happened, remember, this is like the late 1990s, early 2000s, so this was before every phone had a camera on it. And there weren't cameras everywhere like there are now in public, even in Los Angeles. So I think if this happened now, it would have been case closed, you know, case solved. Somebody would have been doing time for this, behind this. But there was nothing like that really to that extent back in the day. So it's just one of those mysteries. And their music, they were both musical, you know, whatever you want to think of their personal life and personal choices.
They were icons.
They were icons. They were bigger than life, and they kind of embodied the hip hop of that spirit and the frustrations of a lot of people that felt like their voices weren't being heard.
Before you go, I know you're working, but since you opened this door, I have to ask, because in case you all don't know, Lisa has covered hip hop extensively throughout her whole career, whether it's with us, whether it's on the radio, Hot 97 and stuff. You covered both of these incidents. You saw the similarities you were reporting. What do you think is fueling the interest all these years later? Like, what is it?
I think it's because it's also at that time, you didn't become a big name unless you had already gone through a lot of steps. So for example, like now we have plenty of examples of it. You have people that make a hit song on, you know, their dad's or their mom's old laptop, and they put it on TikTok and it goes viral, and then they start to build a fan base and they get a record deal very fast. Then back in the day, at that time, it was very personal. Like Biggie came up to the radio station, you know, Pac when he was in town, all of these things. So they were known. They'd have CD, you know, they'd have cassettes. They were playing cassettes then. They would give those out, so it was a very personal thing, but they were also larger than life, and there weren't as many artists. Now there's thousands and thousands and thousands of artists. I mean, Spotify, we did a story on that. They get tens of thousands of new songs every day uploaded to their platform. So it was just at that particular time, and then once somebody is murdered, you know, that adds a whole other element of concern and curiosity and all of that. So
Lisa Evers knows everything about it. And Lisa, thank you so much for being with us. I know you're busy. We're going to take a quick break. More Newsroom Live when we return. All right, everybody, welcome back to Newsroom Live. It is 1:17 on your Tuesday, December 16th. Antoine Lewis, very happy to be with you from the newsroom of Fox 5 WNYW on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. We're going to go to the West Coast now to bring you the very latest on this awful, awful story out of Hollywood involving actor, director, filmmaker Rob Reiner. That you're looking at right there, that person is Nick Reiner, the 32-year-old son of Rob and his wife, Michelle Reiner, right there. Nick Reiner is being held without bail on suspicion of murdering both of his parents on Sunday in their Brentwood home. Now, we've learned that the Los Angeles District Attorney is expected to announce formal charges against Nick Reiner later today. Reiner was arrested just hours after the bodies were found on Sunday afternoon. We understand, just to give you a little bit more information on this, we understand that it was a family member who discovered the bodies. They both had stab wounds. That video you're looking at right there is Rob Reiner and his dad, television pioneer Carl Reiner. Carl Reiner, in case you didn't know, used to write for Your Show of Shows, one of the pioneering shows from the 50s, and he is also responsible for the Dick Van Dyke Show, routinely regarded as one of the best sitcoms to ever grace our television tube. So that's Carl Reiner on the left, Rob, whom you see there in blue on the right. So that's the very latest on what's going on right there. Of course, Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan from When Harry Met Sally, iconic film, certainly an iconic New York film because of just all of the all right, you know I'm talking about the scene in Katz's Delis. Everybody's laughing, but it was already iconic, but that scene certainly made it even more so. But anyway, so that's the latest on that very sad story coming out of there. Overseas now, let's talk about the Bondi Beach, very latest on what's going on about that. Australian officials are now saying that Sunday's mass shooting at a Hanukkah celebration at Sydney's Bondi Beach was, quote, a terrorist attack inspired by Islamic State. Officials made the announcement today, and they said it's the first time that they've confirmed their beliefs about the suspects' ideologies. Australian police say that they are preparing to file charges against the surviving gunman. 15 people were killed and 27 injured when this happened on Sunday. And Australia's Prime Minister has suggested tightening the country's gun laws. Take a listen to this.
We stand together against anti-Semitism. One of the suggestions that will be on the agenda today is to have an examination of our gun laws.
All right. And again, that was the Prime Minister for Australia speaking, bringing everyone up to speed on that one. In the meantime, take a look at this. Australians lit a menorah today at the memorial site for the victims of the Bondi Beach mass shooting. Crowds grieved. They left messages of condolence. And as you can see, laid many, many well-received flowers for those that were killed on Sunday during what was supposed to be a joyous Hanukkah celebration. Those that were killed ranged in age from as young as 10 years old to 87 years old. So we're certainly thinking about them, our neighbors over there in Australia, as they are dealing and trying to process what happened there. Also want to tell you about a baby food recall and what the latest is that's going on with that, because the FDA has sent warning letters to Walmart, Target, Albertsons, and Kroger for selling By Heart brand baby formula, even after they learned that the product was recalled. So the letter says that the products are still being sold a month after the first recall notice. The CDCP reports that the outbreak has sickened more than 50 infants as of last week. The FDA says that retailers have 15 days to take steps to remove the products off the shelf, or they will be facing serious legal consequences there. So that's what's going on there. And the brand again is By Heart baby formula. Do not, if you are feeding an infant, nursing an infant, through formula, then you definitely want to avoid that until we let you know, once we've gotten the information from the feds, that that product is okay to be used. But for right now, it's being recalled. 1:21 on your Tuesday. More Newsroom Live when we return. All right, everybody, 1:23 on your Tuesday, December 16th. Antoine Lewis, very happy to be with you for Newsroom Live. Okay, Vinny, let's take a live look outside because we have got to talk about the weather. So right now in New York City, it is 31 degrees. And you see we are at the low end of the 30s. But take a look out there because the wind isn't as much of a factor today as it has been from what our meteorologists have been telling us. Clouds are still out there, but you can see that it's just chilly. It is what it is. Let's do the 7-day, if you would, so I can let you know what you're up against. 33 is our expected high. Our low, we don't know, but we will figure that out. Anyway, on Wednesday, we're looking at 44 degrees with a low of 26. And then you can see we climb back up into the 50s for Thursday and Friday. Then we drop again on the weekend. The winds will pick back up. Friday night into Saturday, you can see our high on Saturday is going to be 28 with a low of 26. And then on the Sunday, it looks like that's when winter actually begins, the official start of winter. I see the snowflake is there. That's just because some areas could actually be seeing a little bit of snow. Don't know how that's going to impact us on the city, but just make sure that's on your radar as you are being prepared to move into that. And then we dip into like 40 on Monday. So let's go back outside one more time because while we're expecting clear skies today and tomorrow with some clouds, if you will, I should say it and caution you that way. We wanted to make sure that this is not the time to avoid the layers. Fort Lee, you're checking in at 30 degrees, it looks like. And then I think we saw 30s also in the city in the shot that we were looking at just before that. So just know that what we're looking at right now is averaging around that. That is the sun is directly into our shot. Now, it could look like we're in the middle of a snowstorm or something right there, but I promise you that's just the camera angle that's going on right there. And then, of course, there's the tree along 6th Avenue. As you come back to me, just want to talk to you. We're doing a couple of holiday-related stories, if you will, and right after the break, we're going to be talking about relationship stress during the holiday season. Specifically, if you have a new romance, you're trying to bring someone to the family, this can increase the amount of stress that already goes. Anyway, we're going to be speaking to a relationship and lifestyle expert. Emma is going to be joining us via Zoom, and she's going to break everything down for us. She's standing by right now on Zoom, and when we come back, we're going to be talking just about how to handle relationships during the holidays. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back to Newsroom Live. Antoine Lewis, very happy to be with you. Okay, all right, we know we're in the holiday season, and we know that this is also the time where people start new relationships, may have had one they've been simmering around for a minute, but at some point you've got to meet the family, and a lot of people tend to think that this is a good time of year to do that. But nonetheless, we want to bring in Emma Hawthorne. She's our relationship expert, and she's also an expert on the dating platform Seeking.com. And Emma, you got us there? You're okay? You hear us?
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, all right. Emma, we're talking about relationships during the holidays and how that can impact stress. You take it away. Break that down for us, Emma.
So yeah, the holidays are the one time of the year where you're definitely probably going to bring your new partner home. You want to make the best possible impression on your family. Is this introducing them to your parents for the first time? It's that initial introduction where you're not sure if everyone's going to get along. And of course, at Christmas time, the main thing is that tensions get high. So anything that hasn't been discussed previously can kind of work. But yeah, it's a very stressful time for couples, but it can also be a very joyful time and a very celebratory time.
Okay, so I guess one of the things is we know that I don't want to say showing off new presents, but when you're in love, you want everybody to meet your mom, to meet your dad. If someone watching right now knows that that's something they're going to be confronting, this season, what do you say to that person? How do you walk them through that, Emma?
So I think the most important thing to start off with is set your expectations with them before you walk in the door. You need to have that open communication with your partner. Otherwise, you're going to go in there and you guys are going to be messy. You need to be able to talk through those very important things that your parents could very well bring up. I mean, they know you best, right? So they're going to be grilling your partner one way or another. So have those conversations with your partner before you even get there, before you even get in the car. Make sure you're aligned on boundaries with each other, what you can talk about in front of your parents, what you can't, what you don't want to bring up. If you have an age difference, make sure you have something planned on how you can explain that and why it benefits you, or why you just care about each other over and above that. Talk about career paths, money. You need to be aligned on what finances are, on what you're going to say to your parents, because they're going to be like, so, why do you like this person? Tell us everything. So you and your partner need to be, first and foremost, strong in what you're going to actually talk about with your parents before you even get there.
Emma, let me ask you this, because I don't know about you, but I think at some point we've all been on both sides of that. We've been presented or introduced to the family, and we've also done the introductions. I have a question for you, and a follow-up to that one. When you are being introduced to the family, and you just said talk about establishing boundaries. Now, we know parents, can sometimes just go out of the window. Dads are going to ask what they want to ask. How much do we just play along? Is that how we go? We just laugh it off, or just so things don't get awkward? Or what's the best way to police a situation like that when you've already discussed the boundaries with your partner, but family's going to do what families do?
Families are definitely going to do whatever they want to do, especially in this situation. So you've probably been discussed in the family group chat beforehand. So you do need to be prepared for these.
Sorry, I threw you off. I was laughing at that. You're probably right. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Emma.
But that's been going down beforehand. So you need to you also need to hold your ground. So I think the most important thing here is going to be your own self-confidence in the relationship. If you're going in very unsure of this person, you don't know them that well, it's going to show. Your parents are going to pick it up right away. They know you. So I think this actually goes back to your own self-confidence and your own values when choosing a partner in the first place. Make sure it's someone that you're so proud of to introduce, because that can't throw you off. That you can't get rerouted by a difficult question if you just think this person is absolutely extraordinary and you have so much admiration for them and you're excited to introduce them. I think this is what's changing in relationships at the moment, is we're a lot more comfortable being single.
Yep.
And
well, go ahead, Emma. I just thought I had you go ahead. I have a follow-up question for you.
Okay. So the stakes for relationships are a lot higher. So we're choosing better people that fit our lives. This is very much something that we talk about a lot and we see a lot on Seeking.com, is people are having very high standards. And those high standards, your parents are going to kind of reward you in a way for that, because they will be pleased that you've found someone who genuinely uplifts you, rather than someone that they're like, oh God, who's this guy, So it's having standards for yourself that's vital.
Right. Okay. So here's my follow up. And I've been guilty of this, but when I was younger. All right. It's the holiday. We're in that time. You're being introduced or meeting the family for the first time. Do you show up with a gift? And if so, what is the window? You certainly don't want to show up with a television, like that. Some people may try to impress dad or mom or grand, whoever it is. Do you bring a gift, with you if you're meeting someone for the first time, or just a nice simple card and a handshake?
Well, never show up empty-handed. I think that goes without saying. But a gift is going to be very important. It makes such a good first impression if it shows that they've kind of curated something for your parents. I think that's also part of the initial conversation. Like, what are your parents like? What do they want? What is something that you can bring that actually has, sentimental value? Something thoughtful. But yeah, never show up empty-handed. That is going to make such a terrible first impression. I think you've ruined your chances if you've shown up with nothing.
That is a very good advice. Also, just, one of the other things too, and just your thoughts on this, because this happened with my family. My brother, right behind me, actually, his girlfriend came and she baked a pie. It was like a chocolate pudding type pie, and it wasn't well received at our family. It was a situation, actually. So bringing something, you would be disinclined to suggest cooking something, correct? Unless you're like a Michelin level chef, correct?
Yeah, and you know what? At Christmas, you can also step on some toes with that. You don't know if your mom might be the one who wanted to cook, and then you have a little bit of a competition going. But I think, if that's something that you want to bring, something that represents you and represents your family as a gift to your partner's family, then absolutely. But again, have that conversation beforehand. Don't show up with a second dessert when your parents have already cooked something.
Emma, for those who may be unfamiliar, including myself, with Seeking.com, just talk us through about the site and what it is that its goals are, the app, I should say.
Yeah, so Seeking is the world's largest luxury dating platform. It was started in 2006 by Brandon Wade, and he actually met his wife and co-CEO Dana on the platform itself. So Seeking is very much about finding a relationship that brings genuine value to your life. So not someone who's going to stress you out, not someone that you're going to have to apologize to your parents for at Christmas, someone that you can genuinely have pride in bringing home. These relationships are elevated, they're on a slightly different level, they involve admiration between both parties, which we feel is so vital for something long-term. And that's the mission. The mission is to improve how people date and encourage them to raise their standards and dream a little bigger.
Emma, before you go, there is some guy right now who maybe, if he's not watching us, I'm sure he's somewhere thinking about it or having a conversation with his best friend that he's thinking about proposing, perhaps during this season. Your thoughts on that? I have my thoughts, but just you're the expert, your thoughts on someone who may say, you know what, I want to do a holiday wedding proposal.
I think there's nothing wrong with it. I think as long as it's prepared well, the timing is, not maybe on Christmas in front of the entire family, having met them for the first time.
Right.
But might be a disaster. But nothing wrong with proposing around the holidays. I think it can be a really beautiful moment as long as it's planned properly. And you know what? I think you should also talk about it. Have that conversation if you want to have a beautiful winter proposal under the Christmas tree. Nothing better.
Now, we want to let everyone know that Emma is actually joining us from South Africa. You're doing the Zoom from South Africa. What's the weather there before you go, Emma? We're just curious.
It is hot and humid, and it's actually pouring with rain.
Okay, show everybody what we have, Vinny, here in in New York. Anyway, Emma, we're teasing you. We're just taking a live look outside because we're like barely at 30 right now. But Emma Hawthorne, again, joining us, advice, relationship columnist with Seeking.com, the dating platform, right there, joining us from South Africa. Our best wishes to you and yours for a safe holiday season, and we'll check in with you again, maybe sooner than Valentine's Day, so we can find out just how successful those who proposed over the holidays, this holiday, actually were with that. But we thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
All right, Emma, stay safe. And everybody, you stay right there, because when we come back, we're going to stick with our holiday theme, because hackers, oh my gosh, they're busy, they're at work, but we've got some things to keep you safe. We're going to be checking with a cybersecurity expert to let you know what you need to know. More Newsroom Live when we come back. All right, everybody, welcome back. 1:40 on Newsroom Live on your Tuesday. So in our health watch today, we want to talk to you about AI and a warning coming from health experts about using AI or Chat GPT, one of the ones, to self-diagnose. So here's what's going on there. Apparently doctors are warning against this, and here's the reason why. They say it can do more harm than good when it comes to ramping up health anxiety and may cause some patients to fixate on conditions that they don't actually have. So when you start thinking, wait, I've got this is something else that leads to that, then you go to Google. People used to always say, do not go to WebMD, to try to look up anything because you'll make yourself worse. These are along the same lines coming from doctors. Anyway, they're saying that some request tests that they don't even need when they go see a physician. Anyway, here's what a health expert had to say about using AI to self-diagnose.
They can come up with some very rare diagnoses, and that can then put a lot of fear and anxiety into people instead of, coming down to, well, what you really had was the flu.
So experts do say AI can be beneficial in helping people determine if they should go to primary care, urgent care, or an emergency room based upon the symptoms that they are having. But again, you don't want to use this as your sole medical reference to properly diagnose you with what's going on. All right, so we know we're talking about travel over the holidays. We're talking about holidays, and that, of course, includes traveling. But do you know what is the best seat to get on an airplane to avoid being sick? Okay, well, apparently it is the window seat. And here's what doctors are saying about that. With people traveling, experts say that the best seat to avoid getting sick on a plane is to use the window seat, far from the bathroom. And apparently viruses like COVID and the flu are mainly transmitted by air. So the more that you are away from them, the less likely you are to come into contact with anything and with other people. And this is also what also is being mentioned to do is to make sure that you are wiping down the seat, the armrest, the surfaces, all of that sort of thing. A WebMD physician also recommends regularly cleaning your hands, not touching your face, along with wearing a mask. So There you are. Window seat apparently is the best seat to get on an airplane to avoid getting sick. Actually, it makes a lot of sense. You're off to the side, away from everybody, if you will, but also do it to avoid the bathroom. This information coming from health experts. So know that if you're going to be heading out to the airport anytime soon to travel over the next few days, keep that information close. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll take a live look outside. So I'll talk to you about that. But as we go to break, sun's shining. There are some clouds out. 31 is the temperature. All right, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Newsroom Live, 1:45 on your Tuesday. A live look outside as we talk about the weather, because if you're going to be heading out, you still need the layers. All right, you see it's 31 in New York as we take a look at that, but here's the 7-day. 33 for the high today. Tomorrow, 44, so we creep up, and then we continue to climb. We're hitting the lower 50s, and then we get to mid-50s by Friday. There is some rain on Friday. Winds are going to be picking up on that day and going over into Saturday. You see there's the clouds, but winter officially starts on Sunday. Your high will be 45. You see the snowflake, which also can indicate winter, but also could mean that some of our areas could be seeing snow as well. And then on Monday, we drop just a little bit, but clouds will remain, and we're going to be at 40 with a low of 32. Continuing with our holiday theme and some things that you need to know. This time of year, a number of people, of course, shop online or using your mobile device, but it's also the time of year when scammers, when hackers are also out and preying upon us. As we show you some of the video, just of people out shopping and looking around, we want to bring in now cybersecurity expert and Lionsgate Network CEO, Bezalel Ethan Raviv, who's joining us via Zoom. And Bezalel, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you perfectly fine. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us as we're talking about cyber safety during the season when we're buying things, on our devices and online. What are some of the red flags that we need to make sure we are looking for?
First of all, red flag number one is when someone offers you something online and you've never physically met them. That's a huge red flag. When you're offered unsolicited advice or financial options, then that's something you want to look out for as a huge red flag. That's the biggest one that we see at Lionsgate Network, where people are being offered a conversation online and then to invest in crypto or other financial opportunities, which actually will cost them everything they have. So that's for us the biggest red flag.
Mike, okay. Then the other question I wanted to have, how can consumers protect themselves? With it, you observe, or you think this may be a red flag. Walk us through what needs to happen next.
Well, Again, if you notice anything that is unusual, a new friend's request, a new DM from a person you've never met, an irresistible offer, any of this is something that you want to look out for as a red flag. And again, if you've been targeted financially, the best thing you can do is report it to law enforcement. First of all, for the protocol, and the second thing is report it to us. At Lionsgate Network, will be able to trace the digital fingerprints of your case, which basically will help us create a forensic work around your case and help you negotiate better conversation with law enforcement to get your money back.
Okay, so then let me ask you this. In this age of AI, is there a way to safely differentiate between something that may be AI generated as opposed to maybe a legitimate ad coming from Express or Target or something like that?
As you would know, at this era, it's very, very difficult for the common person to be able to see the differences between AI to an authentic material. We are accelerating towards a huge problem where there's very little room for people to be alerted before it's too late. And that's why extreme vigilance is recommended. We're looking into a lot of deep fake where people are being scammed by someone they believe they know, or a protagonist, a celebrity. We're seeing a lot of these happening right now, especially around the holidays where people are more vulnerable and more open and more receptive. Again, make sure it's coming from the actual source. Look at the handle, look at the details, check the emails, and of course, make sure that you're not interacting with the wolf when you were looking all along for the sheeps.
I like how you worded that. Also, some information that we got from Lionsgate Network, your company. Apparently last year, online scams rose by 53% that were targeting shoppers, as well as using phishing attempts, AI generated ads, and crypto related schemes. That part. Can you talk and address cryptocurrency? Because a lot of us still don't quite understand it, but we know it's coming into play for a number of people, particularly during this season.
True. Well, the market voted 4 trillion US dollars have migrated from fiat currencies to cryptocurrencies. So basically, it's no longer a phenomena. It's a huge part of the financial market. And if we're looking at this, it's the most vulnerable one. Scammers and cyber criminals love the most. So when you're looking at crypto, what is it? It's a digital currency that there is a lot of beauty around it, because cyber criminals believe that it's the best way for them to embezzle Americans today. The truth of the matter is that with our tools, with our technology, we are able to trace any kind of cryptocurrency at any given moment. So it's actually the worst thing cyber criminals can do, take Americans' money through crypto, because we will be able to trace it. We will be able to tell you where every penny is within a very short period of time, and prepare a document for law enforcement, a forensic statement for law enforcement to retrieve that money back. It's a very fatiguing process, very complex. Still, law enforcement is trying to catch up with 6,000 new cases a day, which is incredible. That's 2.2 million new victims, Americans victims a year. So we just want to say to all the Americans that have been targeted, and New York is one of the leading areas where a lot of victims are being defrauded through crypto. There is an option to recover. There is an option to say no to scammers. There is an option to not accept the terms of there's nothing to do. There is a lot to do.
Now, just to be transparent here, I've done a lot of shopping online. I've seen on Instagram, a couple of things that have popped up that I've responded to. I always use PayPal. I trust it. I've been using it for years. For someone who may have a question, Bezalel, I'm mispronouncing your name. Let me just look at it. Bezalel. For someone who may also have questions about, well, should I pay? Should I use PayPal? What's your guidance there? I know there are other avenues to pay also popping up now, but what's your guidance there?
Let me tell you, around any financial vehicle, there are cyber criminals. We no longer call them scammers because scammers make it seems like they're, like small thieves. This is organized crime at its best. We're talking about $53 billion a year that are reported. Think about all the people that do not report their incidents to the IC3 of the FBI and the rest of the federal agencies. This is a scamdemic at a scale we've never witnessed, where our parents are vulnerable, where our kids are vulnerable, where we are vulnerable. And we want to say this is something huge. So whether it's PayPal or credit card or gift cards or crypto, the entire system right now is completely exhausted because law enforcement, to be honest with you, is very fatigued as well. And that's why cyber criminals enjoy the party, so to speak, because they see what's happening and they have leverage against us. So as a community, we want to alert when you use your phone, when you use your computer, this is where you enter the zooland of cyber criminals. That's where they live.
You had me so drawn in when you pulled up the phone and everything like that. But I guess, a lot of people understand now how it's simple to just use your phone, as opposed to logging on. I didn't realize the numbers were as big as you just said them. Wow, that just takes your breath away.
Our parents taught us as kids. I remember my mom told me when I was 5, like your mom told you, like all moms tell us, they prepare us for the big world and they say don't speak with strangers. And all we do today is speak with strangers online. And we kind of forgotten that lesson, and that's why we're being victimized as a community, because we're getting a DM or a friend request, and we basically say yes to new followers, but we don't understand that they have a full exposition to our life, into every picture, every tag, every hashtag that we've ever placed with our profiles, and therefore we become automatically vulnerable, not thinking that this information is an actual weapon that is pulled against us.
All right. Bezalel Ethan Raviv. I hope that was I at least in the right neighborhood. Please say yes. Please say yes. Please
I'll tell you.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. You are not only in the neighborhood, you are right in the apartment. This is really good. And you know what they say? As long as they can pronounce your name.
Really, Vinny? Okay. Vinny, our operator here, just did the sound effect. I don't know if you heard it, but he had your timing down, Bezalel. Thank you so much for being with us, the CEO of Lionsgate Network, cybersecurity expert, giving us so much helpful information as we try to guard ourselves while we are continuing to shop for our loved ones and friends this holiday season. Our best wishes to you for a happy new year and a prosperous season as well. Thank you for being with us today.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
All right, sir. One quick break, everybody. Vinny, the comedian. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. It is 1:58 on Newsroom Live. We just want to recap top stories for you. Police have released new video in regards to the person they are looking for, trying to track down in connection with the Brown University shooting, in which 2 people were killed, 2 young people, and 9 others were injured. So again, this information, just videos just being released today. That's the person that police want to talk to in connection to that shooting. Our Lisa Evers is staying on top of that, so we'll keep you updated on all of our Fox platforms throughout the day. Also want to bring you up to speed on the very latest on the Rob Reiner death investigation. Right now, Nick Reiner, the 32-year-old son of Rob and his wife Michelle Reiner, is being held without bail on suspicion of murdering both his parents inside their Brentwood home. Now, here's what we're understanding is going to be happening this afternoon. The police are expected to submit a formal case to the district attorney, and we are anticipating formal charges coming out of that. A news conference is going to be happening about 3 o'clock our time. I'm working on that, so I'll bring you the very latest. As we say goodbye to you, we want to ask you to continue to stay with this platform, because Talking with Natasha